one thing was for sure. They both believed Sparks to be a total tool.
Be an exciting contest which shows that divorced couples can still have fun together, right?
Mythological hero H-list. C. On the spot dice spin.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Reg Grundy Productions was a powerhouse in the 80s. In the US, he had two of the best game shows out there in Sale of the Century and Scrabble. But elsewhere in the world, he had a lot of hits, especially in his homeland of Australia, where not only did he have his version of Sale of the Century, but he also had Person of Cell Block H, he also had Neighbors. Pretty much, he had the Midas touch, so to speak. In the 90s, however, it was more like Fool's Gold. Sure, he still had Sale of the Century going strong in Australia and going for gold in the UK, but in the US, all he could muster was categories and the 1993 revival of Scrabble. In 1995, Reg Grundy would sell his production company to Pearson. Now, why do I bring up Reg Grundy? Well, in September of 1996, a Reg Grundy show would make the air on the Family Channel on September 30th, 1986, alongside Wait Till You Have Kids, the new Shop Till You Drop, and, of course, Shopping Spree. That's right, we are continuing the worst of the Family Channel arc here, and we are doing so with small talk.
What's the difference between a goat and a sheep?
I mean, a goat leader, he said, they need a video camera.
That's Alex, and he and his friends will have a lot more to say today on Small Talk.
Small Talk premiered on September 30th, 1996. Hosted by former talk show host Wil Shriner, contestants had to guess what a group of 7 pre-taped kids will say in order to win some cash. Yes, this is one of those wonderful shows like All About Faces, Hold Everything and Anything for Money that really drives me insane. The problem with this show is from multiple sides and not from Reg Grundy, but from a combination of Pierce's incompetence and how the Family Channel didn't help it out via scheduling. When I announced when I was doing this arc in November, I got a bunch of information from a good friend of mine and a really good friend of the site, DC Lundberg, who you can see on the Touch 'em All podcast on SpectrumOne.net. In this batch of information, he gave me a lot about the show, especially on how it was scheduled and what changes were made, including all of the B-roll that you're going to see in this induction. Now, you'll also see some of his comments along the way as well, and basically what it comes down to is that it's a big mix of Pearson, the way they handled small talk differently from when they did in the UK, and also the Family Channel schedulers and their complete incompetence and how it torpedoed the show. But from a lot of people can agree on, one of the biggest problems of the show was this guy.
And now, here's the last great hope for American television, me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi there, everybody. I'm Wil Shriner.
One of my pet peeves in game shows is having hosts announce themselves as a sign that a production company is cheapening out. Wil Shriner would have been better served to have someone announce him, such like a Randy West or a Burton Richardson. As presented, he comes off as arrogant and self-indulgent, a huge step down for being somewhat affable on That's My Dog. Another thing that irritates me is that he always tries to come up with these one-liners after the clips are shown. I'll admit a good chunk of the clips are funny on their own, but Will spoils them with some very unfunny lines, which is a holdover from the British version of Ronnie Corbett. By the way, don't expect any footage from that version since it's owned by the BBC and they are copyright hounds. About the quips. It also reminded me of Love Me Not when Ross Schaefer would have to fire off a one-liner after a contestant gave off a true or false statement. The thing is that when there were 10 or so of those in each game, for here, Will has to fire off 14 or so each game. That is way too much. To me, the biggest thing is that he would come off as fake. It's the worst thing he could be as a host. I always get those feelings when he was doing his talk show back in the late 80s. It's like he wasn't even interested in anything but getting paid. He'd be overexerted about the guests, and then when the interview came on, he didn't care. It was like that when he hosted Small Talk as well. Honestly, to me, it felt like Wil Shriner came onto the set thinking it was hot stuff. He was like, ooh, yeah, look at me. Wil Shriner. I'm the funniest man on the planet. Man, with my hair, I'm the sexiest beast. Well, let's face it, only one person can pull off that type of swagger, and it is this guy.
Like him, ladies love him, he's Todd Newton. Why, there he is! Go get him, Tiger!
Yeah! Lothario Todd Newton. Wow! We're gonna abuse that type of clip forever and a day. Just like all the other big shot internet reviewers out there do of various clips. Please support us on Patreon. Next up is the game itself. For the first 2 rounds, Will asks a question and gives the 2 possible answers. The contestants will select what the majority of the 7 kids on the pre-tape panel would say. Afterwards, the contestants take turns picking a kid from the group of 7, and then Will shows them a clip about what they think of one of the answers. After the clip and a quip by Will, the contestants then guess what the kid's answer will be. A correct answer in round 1 is worth 10 points, and round 2 is worth 20 points. After each contestant has picked 2 kids, Will reveals the majority answer, and a correct guess on that front is worth 20 points in round 1 and 40 points in round 2. I'll admit that I'm not a fan of guessing results of pre-tape events. I put a lot of them through the ringer, and this one's gameplay is no exception. While the clips can be cute, they're mostly one-sided as they talked about one of the 2 possible answers and not the other one, giving contestants some unfair impressions. 99 times out of 100, the clip gives the answer away. Sadly, hardly anybody picked up on it, and quite a few people thought it was a diversion from the true answer, which 99 times out of 100 was wrong. This happened enough times that even Shriner bagged on contestants doing this strategery.
Okay, Anne-Marie, you may go first. Who would you like to hear from?
Alexa.
Alexa, which actor is known as the Muscles from Brussels?
Jean-Claude Dom Tom. I don't know. It could be Jean-Claude Van.
It's Jean-Claude Van Damme, I believe it is. But, you know, a lot of parents won't let you say Dom. Anne-Marie, based on that clue, do you think she likes action movies or comedy movies?
I'm going to go with comedy for her.
Go with comedy, okay. Jean-Claude's an action figure, let's see. Alexa, do you like comedy or action films better?
Action adventure movies for sure. Because action is so much fun, like dragons and sorcerers and princesses and all sorts of wonderful things.
There we go. Well, Anne-Marie, can't award any points. After Van Damme, I would have gone with action. But, you know, I don't want to throw salt in the wound there with this.
Thanks.
Early on, we'll move over to Ryan, see if he can do a little better.
Guys, if you're going to show clips of the kids before giving an answer, either have them talk about both answers, about the overarching theme of the question, or something completely different. It ruins the experience. Another thing that the producers wanted to do was to make it a mashup of Hollywood squares and kids say the darndest things. The problem with that is squares use factual questions. Small talk questions were based from human emotion or opinion, and that's where bluffing really doesn't work at all. I should bring up the point that the show is notoriously cheap in a few ways. The biggest one is that you can see immediately is the quality of the video that the kids are shot on. DC aptly calls it being shot on consumer-grade VHS that anybody could get their hands on. I know this is the Family Channel, but the show is being produced by Pearson, and they have endless trunks of money at their disposal. Sure, they could have bought a Betacam SP professional-grade camera to use for the kids. It's the same type of tape that they would have used to record the show in the studio on at the time. The predecessor of this show in Child's Play shot the kids on 3/4 tape, and that looked cleaner than the cameras used for the kids on this show, and that was done in 1983. The final round has Will pose one more question to the contestants. This time they go in order of score, and each correct answer is worth 60 points. No clips are shown as they make this round go quicker than before. To do this, if a contestant can't catch the leader, they are passed by. The contestant with the most points wins the game and $500. If there's a two-way tie, then the last kid is the tiebreak. The real fun comes if there is a three-way tie. If that's the case, all 3 of them play the bonus game where the winner gets all of the day's cash. For a final round, it's okay with me and provides a good way to catch up. The bonus game's core concept is sound as well. The contestant is given one last question and the 2 possible answers. The light around the kids are flashing like they did on the Fame game board on sale this entry. Whatever kid's light is lit when the champ hits the button, they must guess which choice they would say. The goal is to get 3 right before getting 3 wrong. Doing so wins the big grand prize of $1,000. This is super cheap compared to the rest of the shows on the Family Channel at the time. The rest of the shows were giving away trips, and in Wait Till You Have Kids' case, sometimes a car. $1,000 is peanuts compared to the other shows. The game itself is fine, but the rules changed twice during the show's 65-episode run. In the 4th taped week of shows, the goal changed from getting 3 right before getting 3 wrong to getting 3 right before getting 2 wrong. Sure, it made it a bit harder, but I don't mind it at all. Then in the 8th taped week, it changed again. This time, instead of the kids being asked the same question, they were asked different questions. I don't like this change, but I also don't hate it. It does slow down the game a bit, but since the front game moved at a faster pace at this point, it kind of comes off as a wash. So that's the show itself, and it is not good whatsoever. Shriner's antics are terrible, and the cheapness of the payouts and the kid videos really dump this down into garbage territory. But another major contributing factor to the show's demise and why it has a lackluster reputation is how the Family Channel scheduled Small Talk. Okay, strap yourself in because it's going to get heavy. DC has documented what production weeks went with what weeks that they actually aired and what changes went with week to week. When you have a new show on the air, logical thinking is that you'll air the episodes in order, especially if you change the rules along the way. So the first 3 weeks of shows should air in order, right? Well, Family Channel didn't think so. Instead, the first week aired had a collection of episodes from production weeks 4, 5, 6, and 7, and that had the 3 right, 2 wrong bonus game. When the second aired week came around, the third week's taped episodes were aired, and that had the 3 right, 3 wrong bonus game, so viewers would be a bit confused. Then the third aired week had the 8th week produced shown, which means that in 3 weeks we got 3 different bonus games. Now we've got massive confusion. At least the 4th week aired was the 9th one taped, so there's some continuity. The 5th aired week was the 2nd week produced, meaning the game wasn't as refined as earlier weeks, and we're back to the 3 right, 3 wrong bonus game. A viewer who watched this would be completely confused as they don't know what bonus they were going to get. That piece of continuity was lost and in turn probably drove viewers away. Scrolling through the rest of the schedule right now, as you'll see on screen, and it just gets even more baffling. This could have been alleviated if they had just aired the episodes in order, the way that they were produced. That would have minimized viewer confusion. They could say that they were working out the kinks during the show's run. This is something that's common in cable game shows when they air the episodes out of order, unless it is a special week of shows and they'll air the week in its entirety. Small Talk changing up the bonus game twice doesn't allow that to be feasible and in turn led to some confusion in viewers. Also doesn't help is that this show was paired up with Wait Till You Have Kids, and the stench of that show seemed to poison this well too, as this was canceled in January of 1997, being the first of the new shows to go down. Even with all of these problems, there were some good ideas to be part of it. For instance, I do like the set, and the music was good too, and that helped set the tone, and the kids could bring some laughs. DC saw those good things too, and this is what he had to say about Small Talk. Honestly, I think the show has a much worse reputation than it deserves. It's no masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I wouldn't consider it garbage either. The focus of the show was supposed to be more on the kids than the game or anything else. Sometimes it felt like it didn't know whether it wanted to be a show featuring children that had a game element to it, or whether it wanted to be a game show that features children. Also, Wil Shriner sometimes tries to ham it up a bit too much. He takes the spotlight off the kids, and the contestants, and the game. While personally I think he's better off than most given credit for, and he doesn't do that as often as people like to think he did, he may not have been the ideal choice as a host. In conclusion, if you don't like kids, you won't like this show. It's a niche show in a niche genre, and while it was certainly better executed at the end, it couldn't save itself from the subpar format game and mixed up broadcast order. I may be the only trader, current or former, who doesn't think Small Talk is garbage. It's not a great show, but I enjoy it for what it was supposed to be. A fun, lighthearted half hour where the game is secondary to the kids. It's one of those things that makes me happy about being a game show fan to know that there's at least a game show for everybody. What some might see as a terrible show, somebody might see as a good show. I, for instance, really like Strike It Rich and Beat the Geeks. While some might sneer at some of those shows, I happen to think they're quite good. I also love Studs, and I know some people out there really don't like Studs at all. So, there you go. At least there's a game show for everybody in my eyes. Now, for our next induction, I did a poll on the Facebook page and asked whether a certain incident that happened on Password Plus should be inducted or not. And by a wide margin, you guys said yes. So, for March, we're doing it. The George Papard reign, and what chaos ensued after that. Until next time, bye-bye.